Hello, my fellow degenerates. Tonight, we're going to be doing something that I haven't done in a while. We'll be reading a furry visual novel. Today, we're going to be reading Gnoll Way Home, a brand new furry visual novel that just came out a few days ago. It's going to be fun. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm such an idiot. That's the first thing that comes to mind as I find myself facing oblivion. It's so empty, so cold. There's just nothing. Forever. Is this what it's always going to be like? There really isn't anything that comes after. Well, at least I can hear myself think. Wait, that's not a good thing, is it? Just alone with my thoughts for eternity? Now this is hell. Please, wake up. Oh, thank goodness. You can't do this. The voice pleads tearfully, breaking and trembling. He sounds hoarse from sobbing. I don't recognize him, but he's my only lifeline to the world of the living. Please. I feel like I'm being pulled towards him when he speaks, somewhere far, far away. Compared to this vast emptiness, it feels like a whole other world. You can't leave me. I feel a deep pang of compassion for whoever this is. And I don't want to leave, either. I'm not ready to go. But what can I do? I focus with all my might, trying to do something, anything, to show that I'm here. With all the effort I can muster, I manage to pry my eyes open, just a sliver. Just enough for a blurry, unfocused glimpse of him. He gasps, eyes shining and full of tears, and I feel his grip on me tighten. As I lay my eyes upon him, I feel a deep longing that I can't fully explain. I don't know who he is, but he's so gentle, so tender. I feel him clutching my hand, telling me everything's going to be okay. I can barely make out what he's saying, but just hearing his voice is soothing. I try to respond to him, but all that comes out is a weak, breathy gasp. Save your strength. Just stay here with me, please. You'll get better. You will. We'll go to the village. We'll rest. We'll have soup. I have no idea what he's talking about. Does he know me? This feels wrong. His voice breaks from his tears return. It's not fair. I can't help but agree. I want to console him. I want to tell him not to cry. I don't even know him, but it's obvious how much pain he's in. I want to stay here, with him. Why do I feel this way? He's a complete stranger. I can't think straight. My eyes fall shut. I just keep them open for any longer. Darkness reclaims me as I hear his panic shouting. No! You need to stay awake! But I can't respond. I can't stay with him. The world goes quiet. I feel time slip away from me. Damp falls upon my body. A soft warmth caresses me, but then it's gone. Chill sets in, bitter and biting. Pressure around my limbs, around my throat, dragging. The smell of noxious chemical fumes. Soft muttering. Chanting? It's too much. And then, Nothing. You are in a forest, a deep one, hazy and hard to place. Colors you've never seen before shimmer through the air. It hurts to look at them. The trees around you bend and sway in ways that don't feel natural. They both bow to form archways leading you to your path. You follow the trail, unsure and unsteady, but driven by duty. You have to find him. The clearing you emerge into looks unfamiliar. Your path becomes less certain. Unsettling sights of those same unusual colors flicker and dance in the canopy above, lighting your way in place of stars. Dense underbrush shifts in crowds around you, making you feel surrounded. Quickening your pace, you feel pricks of pain as the dense brambles slice at you in your haste. Unearthly sounds warble through the dense tangle that envelops you. Whatever lives down here can't be friendly. You feel your heart racing in your chest. He could be in danger. A particular overgrown piece of vegetation looms menacingly before you. With your vision blurring, its shape resembles that of a towering beast. Your breath catches in your throat, afraid to make a sound. Pinpricks of illumination from the ghostly lights above shine through it. Or are those eyes? It shifts and turns as you approach. Or was it always facing that way? You can't tell. A howling wind passes through. The trees shake a little. The rattle of bones. It's not safe here. You run, but not far. The undergrowth trips you up. It feels as if it lashes out and ensnares your feet, bringing you low so you can't escape. You feel the wind knocked from your lungs as you land hard. Something's wrapped around you, preventing you from reclaiming any air. Looking up, you're met with dozens of eyes sprouting from the thick, tangled brush that coats the ground. They stare at you, unblinking. They know you're not meant to be here. You're too slow, too stupid. They've just been waiting for you to fall. You feel the roots that surround you tug you slowly into the earth. They suffocate you, wringing the air from your lungs and the life from your body. The more you struggle, the tighter they bind you. As they close in above you to seal you in the grisly casket of vegetation, the last thing you see before they fully block out the light in those eyes staring down at you. You bolt awake, launching yourself upright in a cold sweat and grasp for air. I'm alive? Probably. Okay, that's a start. I try to get my breathing under control. That nightmare was really intense. Looking around, I strain my eyes to get a good measure of my surroundings. It seems like some kind of a hut, from the sounds of birdsong outside. It's out in the wilderness, maybe? Rough, unfinished walls and thatched roofing above, and all manner of simple tools and containers scattered around. Light streams in from behind a curtain opening, illuminating some kind of kitchen or workshop along the far wall. Breathing in, I feel the harsh sting of chemical fumes in my lungs, but it feels like I've been suffused in it for quite a while already. I must have been here for how long? As my bleary eyes scan back across the room, I'm startled when I notice a figure slowly creeping up from the shadows. The figure scampers closer with a frightening hustle. The greasy-looking beast eyes me curiously as I gasp and scoot back against the wall behind me. His proximity brings with it a potent musk that stings my eyes. The scent of unwashed animal mixed with strange herbal aromas. He wheezes out a raspy noise before speaking in a scratchy old voice that makes my skin crawl. It rises. My eyes widen as I realize this creature is actually addressing me, and I can understand it. Tell me your name, lad. His tone is friendly, or as close as it can manage given how terrifying his voice is. But should I really trust him so readily? I'm not sure what to tell him. I'm Braun. The creature's ears fall as he frowns at my response. At the same time, I hear a shuffling behind him. One of the curtains dimming the light from the building's entryway is pushed aside. There he stands, looking at me with a fearsome glower that makes my stomach drop. The old beast crowding me turns to greet him with a welcoming smile. Ah, there you are, lad. Did you get the... He's silenced by a withering glance and palpable tension. The younger beast strides past his elder to approach me. It's him, the one I dreamed of, but he looks so cold and distant now, like the light has gone out of his eyes. All that remains is a smoldering bitterness that flickers into disgust as he looks at me. I'm so wrapped up in studying his expression that I don't notice what he's doing until his hands are around my throat. I reflexively reach up to stop him, but after hearing a brief snap behind me, my hands go limp. I slump back down, unable to move my body no matter how much I try. I grasp and stammer in shock, my voice deeper than I expected. What? Left helpless before these beasts, I feel myself starting to panic. As I gasp for air, I realize I can move my head at least. What did you do? The smaller beast scrunches up his nose in disgust as I plead for information. He reaches for a strange leather cord that's strapped around his wrist and tugs at it to ensure it's secured tightly. The older beast finally returns to my side, looking down over me. Demonic collar, lad. Do you really think? Of course I do, Oppa. I can't be trusted. You know that. The vitriol in his bark momentarily makes me relieved that he isn't focused on me for a moment. Though now I feel bad for the ragged old beast he's shouting down. He's gone, Oppa. That thing killed him. And now it's puppeting him around like a parasite. We don't know that, Tav. Not for sure. Tav and Oppa. So they have names. Are they talking about me? I managed to crane my neck downward, unable to move a single muscle beneath it. What I see down below is difficult to swallow. My entire body is covered in thick, shaggy fur, ruddy shades of brown that drift into a lighter, creamier blend towards my underbelly, where a simple and tattered loincloth covers my nethers. Thick, powerful muscles adorn my arms and legs. They give way to rather large paws, each complete with a full set of dark, leathery paw pads. The toned physique continues across my chest. Those bulging pectorals look at odds with a rather sizable hairy gut further down my abdomen. Jaw agape at this form, I realize my face must look similarly hairy and savage. It's strange that with such a powerful bestial body, I feel so weak and helpless right now. Try as I might, I can't move anything below my neck. Is this the work of that collar they mentioned? Please, I don't understand. They both turn to look at me, Tav wincing at the sound of my voice. Rest now, lad. Tav shoots the larger Gnoll a smoldering glare before Oppa returns to address him. He's no danger to us now, lad. Let him get his bearings. The boy looks back at me, appraising the fear in my eyes, before grumbling and reaching to loosen the cord around his wrist, slightly. As he does, I feel command of my body slowly return to me. I gasp and reach up to my throat, confirming the caller's presence. But as I do, my stomach drops, and I get the distinct feeling that messing with it isn't going to end well. Get him up already. I want to make it back before the dusk. The younger beast departs in a huff, leaving a tumultuous silence in his wake. The older beast sighs as he watches Tav depart before returning his gaze back to me. Sorry about that, Bron. Was it? Yeah. He perks up noticeably at my reply. I'm still not sure how much I can trust him, but he seems to be forthcoming at least. There's a million questions I want answered, and I stumble over them trying to get one out. Where am I? And why am I? I pointed down and gestured to myself, hoping to get the message across. Oppa looks over me, sighing to himself. You're safe for now, lad. But you're not here anymore. That isn't a very helpful explanation. I grow a little frustrated as I try to push for a more digestible answer. Then, what exactly am I? The old beast shrugs. Demon. That word makes me heart sink into my stomach. Demon? What do you mean? His gaze grows distant as he fails to answer. Hungry. The old beast turns away from me, hobbling over to the workshop-looking area on the far side of the hut. Should feed you, he mutters to himself, seeming like he's lost in a daze. I still have questions, even more now. In fact, but I don't know how much I'm going to get out of him. I might as well try to get up now that I can. Climbing to my feet, I find myself a bit unbalanced as my heavy gut flops and jostles before me. This body is weighted a bit differently than I anticipated. I take a few unsteady steps. My feet feel like they bend backwards at first. But my body seems to remember how it's supposed to walk on its own, as long as I'm not thinking about it too hard. I feel an added weight behind me, and I look over my shoulder to see a shaggy tail emerging and curling up to support the loincloth tied around my waist. Boil and 3 shakes. I turn my attention back to the old beast mumbling to himself. I approach slowly, peering over what he's doing. He's slowly stirring in a pot of ominously opaque slop, humming to himself in a grumbly tone. I feel the fur prickle on the back of my neck. What are you making there? My inquiry seems to snap him back to attention, and he gazes down to survey his handiwork. Meal. He acquires a rough-looking pseudo-spoon and ladles some sort of thick, greenish paste into an empty bowl before turning and offering it to me. No, I'm not. A loud grumble interrupts me. My stomach protests as I get a whiff of the stuff. Though the thick fog of strange herbs still hangs heavy in this place, my nose managed to single this out as something edible, at the very least. And I imagine it been a while since I've eaten anything. I look up at this expectant expression, and it's hard to refuse. Tenuously, I take the bowl and implement that's how stuck fast in the offered slop. That is not going in me. I can see him squinting as he tries to survey my reaction, so I decide to make a gamble on his poor eyesight. Pretending to scarf down the meal, I end up making overwrought lip-smacking and swallowing sounds to tell how much I'm enjoying it. Like I'm entertaining a child at a tea party. He seems pleased by this. Relieved, in fact. I can see the tension melt away when the old beast lets his shoulders drop down a bit. I try and refocus, and the old-timer, Now, now that I've been fed, discreetly discarding the bowl nearby. Already I feel my stomach growing resentful at such waste. Thank you. Very kind of you to feed a demon. He gives a soft, wheezy chuckle as he responds. Demons are people too. At least I think so. I pause to reconsider how to gently pry some answers free without showing my hand. I don't know a damn thing about this place, these people, or anything really. But just coming out and saying that would be suspicious, right? Let's try and cover the basics at least. And if I'm a demon, then you guys are Gnolls. I don't suppose you have many where you come from. His tone becomes more cheerful as I keep up this line of questioning. Where is it you think I'm from, exactly? Hell, of course. Right, of course. And what do you know of hell? It's a realm mirrored in sin and cruelty, burning while its people toil in endless misery. Well, that sounds about right. So, how did I get here? He tilts his head, pausing in a moment of confusion. Wasn't that your doing? You possessed young Gash here. Gash? Well, that's a hell of a name. I didn't intend to. Is that so? Well, it's not unheard of. Oh? So there may be others like me out there. Used to happen more often, but nowadays the Empire puts demons to the stake as soon as they hear word of them. Sends them back to hell where they come from. Not what I want to hear right now. Isn't that a bit severe? I'd say so, aye. But frightened people take drastic measures. Am I really so scary? He looks over me, chuckling heartily. Not as you are now. But without a collar, you might end up like the others. The callous disregard for life, the unspeakable power they wield, the wanton destruction they sow, they treat our world like a game. At least that's what the Empire says. I cringe as I imagine the sorts of demons that end up getting sent here. I am nothing like that, I assure you. And the collar ensures that. I rub at the collar as he mentions it, and I get that prickly feeling of doom again when I consider trying to rip it off. What does it do exactly? Keeps you from lashing out. Even considering, hypothetically, raising a fist makes me feel a bit woozy, like that strange paralysis I suffer will come flowing back if I try. This is a lot to take in. Aye, lad. It must be rough. Before I realize it, his paw is on my shoulder. It's more comforting than I expected. I can feel his warmth, and it rivals and unravels a bit of the tension that's been building within me. I take a deep breath, trying to get my head straight, and that's when I notice the smell again. Breathing in through my nose gives me a powerful dose of him, and it's not so overwhelming this time, now that I'm a bit more used to it. I close my eyes and focus on parsing it. It's like unraveling individual threads of aroma from a big ball of funk. There's a strong earthy smell at the core, clearly his natural musk. But surrounding it are more familiar strands of herbal aromas, lavender, rosemary, vanilla, mint, sage, and quite a few more I don't recognize. And beyond that, I can smell how they're layered in patterns they weave. I don't really have the language to describe it. It all combines together to form a complexly textured, distinct smell. I almost feel like I could pick it out of a crowd if I focus on it. When I open my eyes again, I see the old Gnoll much closer now, leaning up to sniff that broad snout of his at my neck. It's only now I realize how much smaller than me he is. Standing at least 2 heads shorter, he'd looked so big when I first woke up. But more importantly, he's just brazenly sniffing me. I pull away a bit, feeling myself blush, but I hope I've got enough fur to hide it. He chuckles softly, sighing to himself before he speaks up. I expected brimstone. I realize he must have a pretty sensitive nose as well. Then, it must be a Gnoll thing. Indeed, you just smell like him, but different. That's not very descriptive, but I suppose I'd be hard-pressed to succinctly describe Oppa's particular smell. Our moment is interrupted by a dramatic clearing of the throat from outside. You'd best not keep waiting, lad. I take a deep breath and prepare myself. Hopefully, he's had enough time to cool down a bit. The cool, shaded confines of Oppa's hut give way to a hot, humid air outside. The surrounding greenery is dense and wicked-looking. Most of the plant life look close to something I recognize, but just different enough to leave me feeling a bit disoriented. Tab leans against the side of the hut. I realize now he was probably close enough to hear our entire conversation. He does look like he's calmed down a bit, but seeing me puts him right back in that foul mood. It hurts to see him like this. I thought he was so gentle in my dream. Wait, was that even a dream? What are you gawping at? My heart catches in my throat. I'm pretty sure anything I say is just going to upset him even more, but leaving him hanging doesn't feel right either. I'm sorry. He seems legitimately surprised by the apology, but quickly tries to hide it after his initial reaction. I'm not really sure what's going on, but it seems like I'm to blame for this, so... You're damn right you are. I find myself growling a bit in frustration. Look, I don't know what happened, but I want to help. He takes a step forward and thrusts a finger up towards me. He's even smaller than Oppa, barely more than half my size. I know what you're up to, demon. Your tricks won't work on me. I'm speechless. You're going to do everything I say until we fix this. And how do we do that? By getting Gash back and sending you back to hell where you belong. That stings, but I can't really argue. If me just being here is displacing someone else, maybe that's for the best. Okay, yeah, I owe you that much. He squints at me, as if trying to scan for signs of deception. Just take it easy, okay? I hate seeing you this way. How dare... Dav and I both pivot in time to see Oppa emerge to join us. Something's missing. Shall we then? All of Tav's concentrations melts away as he's left stammering and averting his gaze from the Giza junk. Oppa, your clothes? I can't help but stare, dumbfounded. Oh, it's plenty toasty out today. No need to bundle up. Judging from Tav's reaction, he seems accustomed to a bit more modesty than this. But you were just dressed. Oppa waves a paw dismissively. Boy, you spent too much time in the Empire, but if you insist, I'll bring the old rags along for the journey. Tav cautiously turns back around, trying not to gaze at geriatric Gnoll gonads. What do you mean? We'll be going with you, lad. Me and the boy have been meaning to make a trip down into town today. Speaking of which... The old Gnoll looks around, squinting again as he struggles to make out his surroundings. Where is he? He went to dump his gate that would be got out of the wormwood. At this point, I have no idea what they're talking about. Ah, could you be a dear and fetch him for me then? You know how prone he is to distraction. Tav groans, then takes a deep breath, looking between the two of us before last relenting. Fine, and then straight to the village. Be ready when we get back. He sets off in a huff again, starting to make it a habit of it. I turn to look at Oppa in concern, noticing a smirk on his face as he catches my gaze wandering. But soon I feel that prickling at the back at my neck, getting more intense the further away Tab gets away from me. Hurriedly I hustle to catch up with him, nearly stumbling as I struggle with these big dumb paws. The sensation fades as I get closer. I eye the leather strap on his wrist he was messing with earlier. Must be the leash to my collar. Looking it over, I figure he could probably give me some more slack if he unwound it a bit more. But I don't think asking for that would go over too well right now. Heading into the forest, we travel in silence for a while. Now that I actually have some time to think, my mind wanders to thoughts of escape. Can I really shake him? Getting too far from the leash seems to activate my collar, and trying to ruin myself or forcing him to would probably drop me too. I could try diplomacy or deception, but that's what he's already anticipating. He's so convinced that I'm some sort of demonic trickster that'll go on a rampage the second I'm off this leash. I'd probably just... well, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know anything about this place. I don't have anyone or anywhere I can go. I'm on my own. Really. Same as him now. My thoughts keep circling back to that point. He's alone because he lost someone important. And I'm the cost of that. Should I really even be thinking about escape? Shouldn't I be trying to make things right? If we can get that other guy back, then I don't know what would happen to me. Apparently, my anxious thoughts have been manifesting as audible whining. I don't realize this until I spot his ears swiveling back towards me, accompanied by a soft, agitated growl. I steel myself to try and stay silent. Hopefully some peace and quiet will improve his mood. Then I can probe for more information when he's not so grouchy. I have to admit, I'm feeling a good bit better myself out here in the fresh air. This forest must smell so lively. Way better than being cooped up back in Oppa's shack. I do my best to survey the sights and sounds of the deep greenery, trying to build a mental map of the place. But there's just too much to take in. I get lost on my own for sure. Hopefully Tab knows where we're going. But as we pass the tranquil stream, I chance a glance across the other side, noticing that rich verdant greens of the forest begin to fade into strange violet hues. For a moment, I think I can see something moving over there. As I squint to get a better look, a strange tightness builds in my chest. This feels familiar. It feels wrong. That collar. Could it be that place? The fur stands on my back of my neck, and I feel that tightness escalate into a palpable sensation of dread. A sharp whistle draws my attention back to the trail, and I realize I'm nearly out of leash range. I steal one last look back across the stream. There's nothing there, but that ominous feeling remains. I shake my head to clear it, hustling to catch back up. Things are significantly more normal back on this side of the stream. I see glimpses of small critters in the bushes and trees now and then. They look familiar enough to at least. When I make an effort to breathe through my nose, an absolute cavalcade of rich scents overtakes me. Every plant, every animal, even the paths and streams, they smell unique. I feel familiarity with some of them, my brain dredging up simple associations like tasty, yucky, danger, or fun for some. It's like I'm digging into his body's scent memory. The most familiar smell of all, though, is his. I take a deep whiff when a breeze catches me down within of him, better understanding the nuances of the fragrance I'd smelled before. I can almost feel his name on my lips when I smell him. It makes me excited, like a pet reunited with its handler after a long absence. It's hard to describe, but he smells much fresher than Oppa. Maybe that's a factor of age, or maybe he just actually bathes. Whereas the older Gnoll's scent was layered with fermenting herbs, Tav's smell feels closer to nature. I can smell the wind upon him, the gentle breeze after it rains. A little bit of fruit, I think, and a hint of flowers. It's comforting. I nearly ran him over without realizing he stopped, but catch myself just in time. He's looking up at a tree whose branches hang over us, scrutinizing a cluster of fruits upon it. I can already smell how delicious they are, so without thinking, I reach up to grasp an overhanging branch to bring it lower. When I look back, he's withdrawn a leather-bound journal from somewhere and appears to be taking notes. Index claw, coated in ink and moving it with impressive precision. So they do grow on this side. He plucks one of the strange crimson pear-shaped fruits from the lowered branch, studies its shape briefly, and produces a rough sketch of it in his journal. I grab one as well before releasing the branch. Do you catalog plants? Not just plants, everything I can really. They had countless books like this back in the Empire. The wealthy even had entitled rooms for storing and reading them. But the Gnolls out here don't have that luxury. They pass everything by more, so it's easy for knowledge to get lost or broken over time. He seems to get frustrated with his sketch, scribbling over it and clapping the journal shut to put away. I guess I really shouldn't bother. It's not like this is going to help me anyone. That dejected look on his compels me to find a way to distract him from such dour thoughts. So, these are safe to eat then? My nose is telling me, yes, absolutely, what are you waiting for? But I want to make sure, just in case. Of course, everything's safe for a Gnoll. I find myself already biting into the surprisingly tender morsel before I can respond, savoring its intense flavors, very acidic, with a good mix of sweet and bitter. What do you mean? Gnolls can eat anything. They don't know this stuff. I try to take offense to that, but I know I must look pretty dumb right now with how greedily I'm gulping down this delicious fruit, feeling its juices drooling down my muzzle. Like anything. He rolls his eyes and starts walking again as he explains further. I reach up to hurriedly gather up an armful of bonus fruits for the road before he gets out of range. Anything we can swallow, yeah. It's our gift or whatever. Hard to solve that way. Can't get sick from most things either. I hurry after him, dipping my muzzle down to munch on the armful of fruits I cradle as I digest this information. That sounds quite like the gift. I guess, but even that gets turned against us. Trash each other's scavs, bottom feeders, people can be pretty cruel. He sounds particularly hurt by those words as he repeats them, looking as if he's dredging up some painful memories. Well, sounds to me like they're jealous. Tav shrugs, trying to let it go. Whatever, they don't matter anymore. We go out of the city to get away from all that. We? Me and Gash. I bite my lip, realizing I've wandered back into uncomfortable territory for him. Why did things have to turn out like this? This isn't what I wanted. I hate this awkward silence. Maybe it would be better to lean into this rather than tiptoe around. Hey, we'll get him back, alright? He takes a deep breath before responding, sounding worn down. Just stop it, okay? I know you don't actually care. You don't need to pretend for my sake. His words sting, but maybe he has a point. Even though I feel responsible for what happened with Gash, Tav is the one I'm worried about. Maybe it's just because he's the one right in front of me. It's harder to feel for someone I never even met. Man, why am I devoting so much energy to trying to make him feel better anyway? It'd be a stretch to expect him to be thankful, given the state of things. But he could be at least civil. He probably hasn't even stopped to think about things from my perspective. I didn't even ask for this to happen. And if we do manage to get cash back, then that means thought drops my heart into my stomach. So I shake my head and try to change the subject. So, who's this boy we're looking for anyway? Olpa's kid. Ah, that little guy out exploring on his own? He's grown, almost as old as us. Help me drag you back to Olpa's after you arrived. I look down at the smaller gnoll. Yeah, Tav definitely wouldn't be able to pull that off on his own. I feel my ears stand up, alerted to a low rumble that passes through the ground. Speaking of, that's probably him. Tav leads us off the beaten path into the tree line, and I struggle to keep up with him. Hey, slow down a sec! Either he doesn't hear me, or is messing with me on purpose, as he forges on ahead anyway. His lithe little body is able to weave through the greenery at a pace I struggle to match. I arrive out of breath and sputtering as I shoo away the remnants of vegetation that cling to me when I finally catch up with the smaller gnoll. He stands in a small clearing, near a stagnant pond, brow forward as he gazes at a tangled mass of plant debris accumulated in what appears to be a natural deadfall ahead. Why is he here? Before I have enough to catch my breath and ask what it means, I'm startled by the sight of a canteen flying through the air. Several wooden bowls and shredded sackcloth bags soon follow it, being tossed haphazardly by whatever currently occupies the dim hollow beneath that deadfall. Tav marches towards it, raising his voice. Hey, drop it! Leave it! He sounds like he's lecturing a misbehaving animal. I force myself to follow after, my deep breaths to regain my stamina soon confront me with an incredibly powerful scent. It's something like I've been picking up hints on the way here, but now I recognize it's most certainly another gnoll. Presumably it's Olpa's kid. Now I wonder if Tab's been following that scent to guide us here. I hear some back and forth between Tab and another, deeper voice as I spot the frame of a larger gnoll standing over him, cast in the shadows of a deadfall. Tab seems to have pushed him aside, leaving him to watch as Tab starts struggling to repackage a cache of wicker baskets stashed there. I take a few deep breaths to let that new smell wash over me. These scents seem to be less distracting once I fully process them. That's probably why I haven't really noticed my own scent much, save for a few stray vapors when I reached my arms to grab those fruits earlier. Closing my eyes to focus, it definitely smells like another gnoll, but this one has such a powerful core musk that the other scents clinging to it can do little to disguise it. The potent, earthy aroma almost feels like I'm choking on mud, but there are strange notes to it that I find titillating. Salt and sweat layer atop it to render it sharp and ripe. I get the feeling anyone can smell this guy coming, not just other gnolls. I open my eyes when I hear that larger gnoll responding to Tab, in a tone that carries much of the same gravel that Opus did, but a younger, greasy timbre. Guessing some critters got at it while I were gone. I was just gonna bring the good bits back for you. They're all good bits. The big guy scratches his head and idly turns, ears lifting in intrigue as he spots me. Holy shit, he's up. What? No, that's the demon. Tab reaches out to stop the bigger gnoll that's marching eagerly towards me, but his arms tangled in the straps attached to one of the baskets ends up buried beneath as its contents overturn and spill over him. As he steps out into the sunlight, I get a better look at the gnoll, and I'm a bit surprised by what I see. That voice definitely sounds masculine, and the shaggily bearded face sure seems to match it. But the shape of that body, though heavily set with a bit of added weight and muscles, is undoubtedly stacked in another direction. And as the golden-furred gnoll approaches, I can confirm with confidence that he's the source of that powerful smell. Demon, huh? Always wanted a scrap with one. I shake my head to try and refocus, raising my paws out and up to signal I don't want to fight. He lets out a gleeful cackle and doubles in approach, reaching me faster than I'd expected given his hefty gait, and meeting my paws with his own, interlocking fingers to initiate a grapple. And before I can offer resistance, I feel the clutch of that damned collar sap the life from me again, leaving me to crumple forward as his feet from what is momentarily clash. Face down in the mud. Did I break it? Tab manages to free himself from beneath the toppled baggage to come to my rescue. He's got a demon collar on. He can't hurt anyone. The big galoot looks mortified. Not even for fun. Tab sighs and unwinds his cord a bit to give me some slack. As I sputter and gasp for air, pushing myself up onto my hands and knees, Tab groans and retreats to the deadfall again. Get him washed up. I'll handle the damn luggage. Once I've wiped the mud out of my eyes, I can see the bigger gnoll squatting down, extending a paw to help me up. I grunt and take it, though as I do worry he's going to take advantage of the grip to paralyze me again. He doesn't though. He helps me up to my feet and gets me steady, leaning in to sniff at me before introducing himself. I'm Stinky. I'm not sure if that's his name or a statement on his personal hygiene. Honestly, it seems like both. Hi? I hesitate, thrown off by that strange introduction and his continued invasion of my personal space. It takes me a moment to register I should offer my name in return. I'm Braun. Are you about done? He halts his wandering sniffer to look up at me, smiling as he realizes what I'm talking about. At the same time, I spot Tab's ears perk up in reaction to my name, causing him to turn and take a long, hard squint at me before returning to his work with a dismissive headshake. Oh, sorry. Just never smelled a demon before. I expected brimstone. Yeah. Yeah, I get that a lot. Well, I'll get you washed up then, at least a little. He guides me excitedly by the paw over to a small pond nearby. Looking up his arm, I can see he's got a good mix of muscle and fat on his frame. He's almost as big as me, even though still good head shorter over tall. I kneel at the edge of the pond as he takes the opportunity to look me over from a few different angles. No horns? Barbed tail? Big old bat wings? Dang, guess the stories were full of shit. I sigh and lean forward to dunk my head in the water and scrub at it, paws reflexively pulling back the comb through my thick, shaggy mane. As I come back up, I pause when I notice my reflection for the first time, carefully studying my own appearance. The gnoll looking back at me has kind of a dumb face, to be honest. If he were part of a bigger group, I'd expect him to be the big goofy one that ends up the butt of their jokes. My paws reach up to feel at that face as if to verify it's real. The nostrils flare a bit as I think about the big nose in its center. My fingers run through the shaggy, unkempt fur on its jawline that trails back into my mane. Overall, I'd say Gash was pretty handsome, in a lovable oaf kind of way. Honestly, he might have been my type. But those timid, anxious eyes don't fit him. Those are mine. While they might lend him a bit of a puppy-like innocence, my uncertainty makes them tremble with weakness. I bet the others can tell from my gaze alone that I'm not him. I'm roused from my fixation as a footpaw poking at my ribs. Demon dick, huh? All barred and veiny? No? To be honest, I haven't checked, but I feel confident I do not have a demon dick. Fairly confident. He cackles and reaches down to help me up again. His playful ribbing, though a bit invasive, is kind of refreshing compared to Tav's dour animosity. I look back to the deadfall where I can still hear the little guy scrounging around. You think he needs help in there? Probably. But I just get in the way again. Don't know what half of that stuff is. I take a closer look at the deadfall, wondering if this is some kind of weird forest stash hidden away from here. What is this place anyway? Oh, it's where I found you two the other day. Found us? Yeah, after you passed out in the womb wound. He managed to drag you and the hole far as he could, but I could tell he was at his limit. Every answer just raises more questions. What the hell is a wormwood? He gestures past the pond, opposite the way we came. The forest where the skirting around. It's all spooky there. Spooky? Yeah, like everyone's dead and I want to go home spooky. Alright, real spooky then. It is. We're still on the edge there. Though, the real nasty critters don't wander this far out. Keeps the Imperials away though, so it's good for that at least. Frustrated cursing cuts through our little chat as Tab continues his labors. I'd better give him a hand. I turn to excuse myself from the conversation. Stinky gives me an encouraging swat on the rim before I go, offering a grin and a pair of thumbs up as I yipe and turn back. You can do it. Whatever it is. I grumble, a half-hearted thanks for the encouragement, and turn back to resume my approach. Inside the cave-like pocket created beneath the fallen forest vegetation, I see all the manner of household goods tumbled out on the ground. Tav squats low, meticulously sorting and repacking them back into the covered wicker baskets they came from. I recognize this place from my dream, where Tav tended to me. And that's when it really sets in. It wasn't me he was doing all that for. I look down over him, biting my lip as I reevaluate that tender, vulnerable moment he shared. It wasn't earned. I stole it. Cash didn't even get to say goodbye, did he? He didn't even get to hear Tav's feelings at the end. I started to feel dizzy, bracing myself against the mouth of the dreadfall. Tav looks up at me with an annoyed expression that demands I explain myself. I don't know what to say. I'm such an idiot. It feels like the walls are closing in around me, like musty roots of this dreary deadfall are crushing the stale air from my very lungs. At least make it yourself useful. His voice cuts through to me as I find myself gasping for breath, only earning another incredulous stare from the smaller gnoll. He's still convinced I'm trying to trick him somehow. The big, scary demon just waiting for him to drop his guard. At least I can breathe again. He shakes his head and pushes one of the filled baskets over towards me. I can tell it's heavy from how much he strains to move it, but then, when I reach out to lift the strap, I find it effortless to heft over my shoulder. He finishes packing up the other one and pushes it back for me to load up with before securing the last few items in the satchel that he keeps for himself. He looks through it to verify its contents briefly, sighing in relief after he finishes. What's in there? The most important cargo. He keeps his expression brief and frustratingly vague, but my gormless expression seems to pressure an answer out of him. Ugh, letters, okay? We're the only means of communication between the Shutterstock, Shadowtusk, and the Gnolls still trapped in the Empire. I can tell my look of absentia speaks volumes on my comprehension, prompting another frustrated groan from the little gnoll. Look, I can't babysit you and explain the whole world to you. He reaches into his pack and fishes out that journal he was writing in before. Here, you can hold on to this until we get back to the village. Maybe reading that will help you understand the world you're living in. You can read. You can read, can't you? Of course I can read. I really hope I can read. Once we got everything loaded up, we head back onward, towards Oppa's hut with Stinky in tow. I briefly wonder why Stinky isn't helping to carry anything, but surprisingly the cargo isn't much of a burden at all for me. This body really is pretty burly. Having Stinky along for the walk back really does live in the mood, keeping the atmosphere light with casual banter and mercifully actually answering my questions. He's kind of a lot at first, but I find that he's starting to grow on me now that I'm used to the smell. From the way he tells it, this wombwood is a country-sized blight of the land on the land that the otherwise unflappable Imperials won't touch with a 10-mile pole. It takes months to circumnavigate safely, and pretty much all that's on the far side past here is dust and desert, so they have no reason to bother with it. But they can take the Empire and shove it on their tail. He makes a crude gesture to demonstrate the analogy. Surprisingly, even Tav's mood has improved enough for a bit of sarcasm. Careful, they say the Empire hears all. Pff. Pff. If he's so almighty, let him strike me down. As if the forest itself has an ear for comedic timing, the gnome manages to step on and loudly snap a twig beneath him after his proclamation. This causes a decidedly undignified yelp to escape him as he's startled into a nearby bush. Tav can't help but laugh at the buffoonish display, and I'm inclined to join him, feeling relieved to see him at least a little less grim now. A pair of brown, socked paws emerge from the bush, pumping upwards victoriously. Still alive! Suck it, Emperor! We reconvene back to Oppa's place, rousing him from a nap. I don't think he intended to take. Mercifully, he's actually dressed this time. Stinky tends to him while Tav inspects the cargo briefly to make sure I didn't break anything. As Tav starts to take stock of our inventory, I get a bit distracted from the inspection and my ears tune me to the other Gnolls' conversation in progress. We get to go with them. Really? Stinky's tail is practically wagging like a pup's. Oppa chuckles softly and does his best to settle the boy. Aye, lad. Your gate's nice and empty, right? Yep. Every last drop. So I should be good for a few days at least. And we can see him this time, right? I realize my ears have physically swiveled around to listen to the conversation, which is probably pretty noticeable and pretty rude. So I shake my head and try to focus on Tav instead. The smaller Gnoll shields his eyes as he looks skyward. Should be enough of daylight left to make it there before dark if we hustle. Hopefully I won't slow you down too much. If you get tired, I can always piggyback you. I have half a mind to offer the same, but I realize that'd be a bit awkward with me already handling the cargo. There's still enough life in these old bones of mine to make it to the village. Our journey is pretty quiet for the most part, with only occasional color commentary from Stinky to punctuate the sounds of nature as he gets distracted by something or other to scavenge and munch on, plus a few pee breaks. A lot of them, actually. Stinky insists that the highest mark on a tree means you own it. I concede all ownership claims. As we got further from the lush vegetation of the forest outskirts, I can't help but ask what's on my mind. Why is the village so far from the forests? It looks pretty dead out there. The further from the Empire, the better. And while there isn't much game, we honestly don't need much to survive. Where there's resources, there's competition. I guess that makes sense, but it still feels weird being so disconnected from the rest of the world. Oh, tell him about the canyon. We're almost there. He can see it for himself. And indeed, peering forward, I'm able to spot what they're referring to. Ahead, the hills drive up into a sharp rise that warps as far as the eye can see in either direction. You'd be hard-pressed to mount it even with a proper climbing gear. But dead ahead of us, a gloomy crevice splits the pass into a slender canyon. It'd be pretty hard to find if you didn't have someone to guide you to it. Well, only way to get to the village, lest you go through the flats on the other side. As we get closer, my nose gives me an indication of what's so special about the place. There's an acrid, malodorous aroma, like rotten eggs and salt that seems to keep from the canyon itself. I hear Stinky take a deep breath, sighing and letting his tongue hang out as he samples the scent. Ah, brimstone. It's the basalt barrier, our last line of defense against the Imperials. The fumes make them sick. Based on what I'm smelling, I can relate. I don't feel like I'm going to retch or anything, though must be that gift Tav mentioned. Oppa smiles and pats my tummy. But gnolls are made of sterner stuff, eh? I try to offer him a smile and thanks for his reassurance, but my heart isn't in it. Even though the canyon walls are wide enough apart to pass through easily, somehow they still feel too close for comfort. The strange hexagonal columns that make up the canyon catches my eye. They jut up sharply to form the canyon walls on the other side. They must be some sort of bizarre natural formation, providing uneven steps for us to tread across. For some reason, I just can't shake the feeling that those walls are going to collapse in around me at any point. I try to focus on moving forward, ignoring the unease rising in my chest. I ignore the tremor in my legs that makes it difficult to walk. I ignored my ragged, ill-paced breathing, which only further overwhelms me with that sulphurous stench. Tav looks over his shoulder and notices me falling behind. He moves to tap the leash wound around his wrist to encourage me to catch up. But he stops when he catches sight of my face. I don't know what he sees there, but it's enough. He backtracks a bit and places his paws on my shoulders, settling my breathing. Come on, Bron. We're bird in daylight. It's not exactly the most gentle guidance he could offer, but it's the first time he's called me by my name. Even that little nudge helps me push through. He takes me by the paw, then more gently than I'd expected. He gives it a soft squeeze, and I squeeze back. I can't see his face as he walks on ahead, but I hope he's not too upset with me. I wish I wasn't such a burden. Here I am, the person he hates most in the world, the one who took Gash away from him, helpless as a babe, and dragging down everyone around me. I just want this to be over with. As we break through the other side of the canyon and the noxious reek of brimstone begins to abate, I see the trio I'm traveling with bathe in the twilight hues of the golden hour. Stinky bounces from foot to foot as he eagerly points at the village outskirts in the distance. Opa chuckles and reminisces about soup, but Tav still has that distant look. The village up ahead, that's where we'll end things. Part of me wants to stay here, with them, but that's just selfish of me, isn't it? I'm such an idiot. The others start making their way down to the village proper, the day's journey finally at an end. I'm not ready for this to end. And that's pretty much the end of Build 1, I guess. I would like to reiterate that this visual novel came out like a few days ago, and it's interesting so far, but you know, it is pretty new, and I can't wait. Depending on how this video is received by views, I might continue this, so stay tuned for that. This was, of course, No Way Home, and pretty interesting. So, hope you guys enjoyed. This has been your legitimate Cook Boss 88, signing off. Stay Foxy, much love.